Hello, everybody. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you are
sir.
audible.
Audible.
Okay, I thought I am continuing and I thought that I am there. But here the internet connection is gone. Again, I have to join in mobile. Okay, what to do? This is the online problem. Okay, so let me continue with it. I will send you the slides. No problem for that. Don't worry. I will send you the slides. Okay. So I was just telling about this Contract Act that so when Contract Act was passed, it was 1872, and 1872 that was passed because earlier it was uh, the English law, then they turned to the Indian Contract Act, and it became the Indian Contract Act 1872, and it is applicable to whole of India. So all over India it is applicable, and it creates a legal relationship to the contract, and they become legally binding, and every person is having the rights and duties. Every person has got the rights and duties. So rights are given by the law and duties are also given by the law. So whosoever is there, whosoever is entering into contract, so they have got certain rights and duties. Whenever you have got rights, always it is followed by duties. These are the major portion of any kind of Indian Contract Act. So you cannot escape from that. You have to follow the rights, you have to follow the duties. You may not follow the rights saying that, okay, I will not go by the rights, but you have to fulfill the duties. And both the parties to the contract or whatever parties are there, maybe two or more, they have to fulfill this. The Act deals with the general rules relating to all types of contracts. And all types of contracts are being followed by this. Every type of contract. Maybe it is a contract relating to your job, maybe a contract relating to the marriage, maybe a contract relating to the relationship, maybe a contract relating to whatever business or whatever things. Because Contract Act does not only cover the business contracts, it also covers certain other contracts. So even the family distributions are also coming under the contract, or the property distribution in a family also comes under the contract. So a lot of things are coming under the contract. So the Act deals in general, it deals with all types of contracts, beginning from section 1 to section 75. And it contains special provisions. So section 1 to section 75 is general provisions. After section 75, you have got special provisions, and special types of contracts are there, like bailment and place, indemnity and guarantee agency. These are the special type of contract which beginning from section 124 to 238. And between section 76 to 123, it is relating to the Sale of Goods Act. But Sale of Goods Act became a separate act in 1930. In 1930, it was separated and it became a separate act. We will also cover that Sale of Goods Act, but it was originally with, till 1930, it was originally with Contract Act. It was part of the contract. So section 76 to 123 has been changed or taken away from the Contract Act, and it is relating to the Sale of Goods Act. And it was finalized and it was passed in the parliament in 1930, and that is why it is known as Sale of Goods Act 1930. Similarly, section 239 to 239 to 266, partnership, which was also the part of the Contract Act. Partnership was originally a part of the Contract Act, and later on it was became a separate act, Partnership Act. So the Partnership Act, it was passed in 1932, Sale of Goods Act 1930. In 1932, another act passed, that is for partnership, which was within the section 239 to 266. So that became a separate act, Indian Partnership Act, and that was taken away from the Contract Act. Besides, there are separate acts which deal exclusively with contracts relating to negotiable instruments. Means banking transactions like checks, drafts, whatever you are making, bill of exchange, or promissory note. All these are coming under this. So negotiable instrument become a separate act. That is Negotiable Instrument Act. Another person which was also there with the Contract Act, that was separated, that was Immovable Property Act. Immovable Property Act. This act also was part of the Contract Act. Immovable property means Movable means whatever can move from one place to another. But whatever like your furniture, machinery, they can move. But land and building, they cannot move. So once you construct the building, you cannot move it. Land is fixed. Immovable property, and that comes transfer of immovable property. So this transfer of immovable property, that became a separate act, which was originally with the Contract Act, and that was separated. And next was insurance. Insurance was also a contract. Whenever you take any insurance, health insurance, vehicle insurance, LIC, whatever you are taking, that is all contracts you are signing, because they tell you to sign some contracts. And that also comes under this. And this becomes a part. So insurance contracts are part of this, and they became separated in a gradual process. So insurance contract was taken away from the Contract Act. Then carriage of goods, when goods you are sending from one place to another place, again, you are making contracts for carriage of goods. So like your logistics you are making, or supply chain you are making, these are all contracts, and you have to enter into those contracts. So that is why, so carriage of goods became a separate act, and it was taken away from the Contract Act. So you found so many things were covered under this. It was more than 700 sections. And now it is only within 200 sections. So total thing has been taken, number of things have been taken from the Contract Act, and the Contract Act now only focus on certain specific contracts, that is general contracts and special contracts. Special contracts like bailment, pledge, indemnity guarantee, and agency. These are all special contracts that is to be covered. And it is the Contract Act does not cover in its ambit any social customs or usage of trade. So these things are not social customs and usage of trade. These are not covered under this. Of course, usage of trade goes to the Sale of Goods Act. So that is covered under that. So throughout our discussion on the law of contract, you will find that the Act is used to refer as Indian Contract Act, because many often I will tell you as Contract Act, but actually it means Indian Contract Act. Similarly, the references that is given, that also is specifically it is for the Indian Contract Act, not for other purposes. So every time whenever I am referring to this, I am referring to the Indian Contract Act, and Indian Contract Act is the base for our discussion. So whenever we are discussing Contract Act, it is the Indian Contract Act all the time you refer to. So that is why our focus will be on this. So we will be focusing on the contract and their features of the contract. So Contract Act was passed in the year 1872 and it continued. So now coming to the question of what is a contract. Like you are buying from a grocery store, you are buying groceries, and you are going by flight or going by train or going by bus. You are hiring a Ola or Uber cab, and you are consulting your doctors, you are consulting your lawyers, and you are also making a repairing your gadgets in the house. So every time when you are doing all these activities, you have to enter into some kind of contractual obligations. And these contractual obligations are essence of the Contract Act. So whatever today you are doing, most of the things you are doing it knowingly or unknowingly, but it gives rise to a contract, and this becomes the origin of the Contract Act. Now the question is, how do you define Contract Act? How do you say that what is a contract? How do you define that? So a contract can be defined under section 2H. It can be defined. An agreement enforceable by law is a contract. Simple definition. Anybody can ask you, what is a contract? Any agreement which is enforceable at law is a contract. Simple. And in this definition, section 2H, in this definition, you will find that there are two basic things. One, there should be an agreement, and it should be enforceable at law. That means there is legal obligation. So every contract has got an agreement. Every contract has got a legal obligation. So what is an agreement? The question arises, what is an agreement? Agreement is a promise or a set of promises formed for between parties. So any promise or set of promises formed between parties for a particular purpose. There must be a purpose behind it and for a consideration, maybe some money value. So there is a purpose, there is some money value, and there is a promise between the parties. One party promises, okay, I will pay you this if you do this. Other party say, yes, I agree. If you don't do, then I will not pay. So this is a promise by both the parties. So reciprocal promises. Both the party, when they promise, we call it as a reciprocal promise. So reciprocal promises are essential part of the contract. And these promises, they continue. Now, in every contract, there is a proposal called offer. Every contract has got a proposal called offer. And when it is accepted, it becomes a promise. That means promise means there is an offer and there is an acceptance. That makes a promise. Okay. So when you say that, okay, I will pay you 10,000 rupees and you agreed for that. So there is an offer and there is an acceptance. One person is offering 10,000 rupees, another person is accepting it. One person wants to purchase the goods for 5,000 rupees, another person agreed to that. So there is an offer, there is an acceptance, there is a proposal. Thus, a promise implies an offer and acceptance. So whenever there is a promise, the question of offer and acceptance comes. So every promise, as I say, that agreement is a promise between the parties for a consideration. Means certain amount or something is there, something in return, consideration, for a consideration. And there must be a purpose behind it. Now, so when there is a proposal, we are talking of the proposal, we are talking of offer and acceptance. So every proposal must be offered, there must be an offer, and there must be an acceptance, and after that it becomes a promise. You say, no, I am not willing. I want to sell my vehicle to you, you are not willing. So there is no acceptance. So the question of agreement is not coming because you do not agree to what I say. So mutuality is the very base of any agreement. Mutually, both the parties must agree, reciprocal. If both the parties are not agreeing, then it is not. It is a simple question of offer, but no acceptance. So legal obligation is a second part of the contract. Whenever there is a legal obligation, there is a contract. Whenever there is no legal obligation, it is not enforceable at law. So it is not a contract. At law, every obligation must be enforceable at law, then only it can formulate a contract. Otherwise, it cannot formulate a contract. So that is how we can say like this. A contract is essentially an agreement. First, contract is essentially an agreement. And second, an agreement is a set of two promises. Both the parties, at least two parties are there. One is offering, one is accepting. There may be one individual, there may be two individuals, or there may be more than two individuals. One is offering, one is accepting. That is must. Without that, offer and acceptance, no contract can be formed. So there must be an offer and acceptance. So two promises are there, one flowing from the offerer, another flowing from the acceptor. So two people, one is offerer, another is acceptor. The offerer is making offer and the acceptor is making acceptance. But acceptor may also make a counter offer. There is a possibility of counter offer. Suppose I want to sell my vehicle for 1 lakh. Then you say, no, sir, I cannot pay you 1 lakh. I will pay you 80,000. Then I say, no. That means you are making a counter offer, 80,000. Then I say, okay, final 90,000. Then you agreed, accepted. So there is an offer. There is a counter offer. There is acceptance. So offer, counter offer, and acceptance. Okay. A promise is an accepted offer. So whenever the offer is accepted, it makes a promise or proposal. So when we are talking of the promise or proposal, we are talking of accepted things. We are not talking of anything else. We are talking of accepted things. So a promise is an accepted offer or it is a proposal. So every accepted offer is a proposal. That is what it says. So all proposals are constituted with two things. One is offer, another is acceptance. An offer is a promise to perform. and contingent upon it, a return promise is also given. So when I say that, okay, I want to sell my car to you for 1 lakh rupees and you agreed for 90,000 rupees after counter offer, then so there is a counter promise. Or so when you are ready with money, I am ready with vehicle, then only the promise can be effected. If I am ready with the vehicle but you are not ready with the money, then obviously promise cannot be effected or promise cannot be fulfilled. So every time the offer, then after that the acceptance, and it leads to the promise, and promise leads to the agreement, agreement leads to the contract. So every time what you find, there is an offer, valid offer, there is a valid acceptance, and it constituted a promise, and this promise has to be fulfilled and makes an agreement, and this, because this agreement is legally binding, so we make it a contract. And when we make it a contract, then the rights and duties comes up. So when it becomes a contract, the rights and duties come up. So rights and duties in a contract is essential part of the contract. So what we learned that there should be an offer, there should be an acceptance, there, then it constitute a promise, promise constitute an agreement. So agreement become legally binding. When it is legally binding, it makes a contract. So that is how the contract is formed. Offer, acceptance, promise, agreement, then contract. Over. Now, how do you differentiate between a contract and agreement? So contract, basic difference that you find is the legality. Because agreements, all the things before the legality, it is an agreement. Once you add a legality, it becomes a contract. Means all agreements are not contracts, but all contracts are agreements. Because we derive contract from the agreement, all contracts are coming out of the agreement. So what are the elements? Agreement constitute what? Offer and its subsequent acceptance. Whenever we are talking of the agreement, we are talking of offer and acceptance. Whereas contract of agreement and legal binding. So when we are composing, when we are finding out, all agreements are having offer and acceptance. Contracts are also having offer and acceptance because they derive it from the agreement only. But in contract, additional thing comes that it is an agreement which is legally enforceable. The essence of a legal relationship. Any agreement may not create a legal relationship. Any agreement may not create a legal relationship. You invited your friend, and when your friend come to your house, you are not there. He cannot file a suit against you or a case against you that you are not there. You have invited. This is a social relationship, social agreement. It is not legally binding. It's not a contract. So parties enter into a contract essentially should have a common intention of entering into a legal obligation. So whenever the parties are entering into contract, they should have to create a legal relationship. They are entering into contract. If they do not have the relationship, then automatically it is not constituting a contract. So everybody who are coming under this, they must have an intention to create a legal relationship. And if they do not have, then it automatically is not a contract, it is a simple agreement. Okay. Now relating the scope, all agreements may not be contracts. That means agreements which are legally binding are contracts. But all contracts are agreements. So you may get a question that all agreements are not contracts, but all contracts are agreement. Discuss. So what is the difference? Basic difference, enforceability by law. So if it is not enforceable at law, if it is not enforceable by law, then it becomes only agreement, not a contract. A contract is legally enforceable, whereas agreement is not necessarily so. So this is the difference that you find. So a contract is legally enforceable, whereas agreement is not necessarily so. Enforced. So that means, let me gist it off. What is the contract? So a valid contract, essence of the valid contract, that there must be an agreement. There must be a promise. There must be an agreement. And there must be an intention to create a legal relationship. Unless and until they have to create a legal relationship, they cannot constitute a contract. And every contract must have a consideration. Okay, consideration means something in return. I want to sell my vehicle to you. You want to give me money. So for me, the consideration is money. What I am getting in return? Money, 90,000 rupees, let us say. What you are getting by sacrificing money, you are getting a vehicle. Okay. So every time it must be having a legitimate consideration, legal consideration. Okay. Then both the parties must be capable of signing the contract. Capacity of parties. Both the parties must be capable of signing the contract. If one party is capable, another party is not capable, then contract cannot be. And the consent you are giving, the promise that you are giving must be genuine, because the legal relationship is binding. Unless and until you have got a genuine consent, unless and until you have got a genuine intention to sign the contract cannot be made. The contract must be lawful, no illegality. The basic object of the contract must be a lawful contract, not illegal contract. Suppose I say, I want to get a vehicle, a stolen vehicle, and I will sell you half the rate. The of the object is wrong. It is illegal. Selling a stolen vehicle is become illegal. First, stealing the vehicle is illegal, so automatically selling the vehicle also becomes illegal. So lawful object. Every contract must have a lawful object. Any kind of illegality will make the contract void or cancelled. So contract will be cancelled if there is illegality in the contract. Then every contract must be having certainty to perform, that the contract is going to be performed. Not only certainty, there must be possibility of performance. Sometimes it becomes impossible to perform. Suppose two countries are there. One country has to supply some goods to another country. In between there was war. It becomes impossible to supply the goods. I have to supply something which will come by, say, flight. The flight was crashed, so I cannot supply. There is no possibility of performance. And it should not be an agreement which is declared as void or cancelled. If the law says no, such type of agreements are not allowed, then you cannot. Certain medicines have been banned by government, and you cannot supply those medicines. You might have entered into a contract, in between the government banned the medicine because of some reason. So you cannot use it. Okay, so when you cannot use it, automatically it is gone. So there cannot be a contract for that, which has been banned by the government, which is not allowed by the government. Okay, so I am winding up with this. So day after tomorrow, I have got the class, same timing, I think 11 o'clock. We will continue with the same link. Link remains same. So we will continue with the same link. I am winding up. Anybody can send me the attendance. I think more than 40 people are there. 40.